Thanks, Chairman Bean, Ranker Member Bonashi, and members of the subcommittee. Thank you for having me today. Today I sit here in front of you wondering how in the world did we get here? How do we get from protecting our children to the argument of stop book banning? This is not a case of heterosexual versus LGBT+, nor is this a political issue, or as many would call it, book banning. This is about the innocence and protection of our children. I would not expect my child to walk into one of your homes and be able to easily access Playboys or pornographic photos. Yet here we are today discussing the argument of these kind of books being accessible in our public schools library, all in the name of education. I sit here in front of you as a mother of 4, 3 of whom were students of the public school system, and what I have witnessed in the last 18 months being allowed access into our schools is appalling. Instead of education being the focus, we have completely lost our focus, and now we have an issue of sexually explicit books being accessible to children 3 years and older. Books easily available to children within their own school media centers. One example is an innocent-looking book with bright colors and a puppy dog on the front. To a 3 or 4-year-old, this book is appealing to them, yet the language of this book is far from appropriate. In the Hide and Find glossary, 3 to 4-year-olds are encouraged to find images of leather, drag queen, and underwear. I want you to imagine very briefly with me that your 3-year-old son, with a speech delay, who is in the school for a language delay, comes home with this book and also read it out loud in class. This was my story and one of the reasons I am here before you today. When I found out this was available to my youngest son and would be used as curriculum, this mom began to speak up. In speaking up in front of my Board of Education and asking questions about the appropriateness and the age appropriateness, I found out that not only did parents know this existed, but they had been approved by committees not even known to the lay public. One book brought to my attention during this was Genderqueer, and the purchase of 8 copies at one high school alone by adults. Adults I don't even know won't even look at this book. So let me tell you why. In the pages of this graphic novel, we see a sexual fantasy play out. If you need help imagining this book, in one portion of the book, a strapped-on penis is visible on the partner with oral sex being performed graphically. The next is of a sexual position of 2 young adults with both parties' private parts all being displayed. This is just one of the 70-plus books in my county's media libraries available to kids 18 and younger. One school teacher alone requested 8 copies for his class and media center. Keep in mind, policy states that any book can also be used for resources in classrooms in my county. I would like to address, too, the lie that parental groups and Moms for Liberty are book banning. If removing a sexually explicit book from school libraries is what you see as book banning, then we need to reevaluate our language. These books are available to anyone who wishes to purchase them. They're available at my local library, my Amazon account, Barnes & Noble, or anywhere else that you wish to purchase a book. The books that are being addressed are sexually explicit books, like the one example above, and go against the very laws and policies that state representatives of the people created. We call these laws in most states minor indecency and obscenity laws. According to my state, Maryland Code Criminal Law Title 11, Indecency and Obscenity, Subtitle 2, Obscene Matter section, sale or display of obscene item to a minor states that obscenity is the act of human genitals, sexual intercourse, sodomy, fondling of, or erotic touching of human genitals. This law goes on to state that it's prohibited to show any minor willingly or unwillingly display or exhibit to a minor. A person may willingly or knowingly engage in the business of displaying, exhibiting, showing, or distributing to a minor an item with obscenity. Genderqueer is just one of the many examples that parent groups and so-called book banners actually are speaking up against. The sexually explicit and detailed content does not belong in our schools, and we are here asking you to hold the very laws and policies that were created on the very local level. We don't show porn in the name of education to children, and children as young as 3, like my son, were exposed to these books. What will start as library books will flow into the classrooms. Montgomery County is a perfect example of this, as it became the pilot across the nation for the next phase of anything new. It has been since the 70s from the research I have heard and seen, and it already is spilling into the classrooms of elementary kids in my county. It is time for us to actually be the adults and leave the sexually explicit books out of the schools and refocus our attention on the failing of our schools to our children in regards to reading, writing, and mathematics. A generation of kids needs to stop being divided over sexuality and actually start to stand up for the innocence of their minds. How do we start? Parent representatives from all different walks of life should be a part of committees that review these books. One of the things we have seen since we started to speak of the Board of Education at the local level is the ability for parents to actually begin to review these books and have a 30-day window for them to sit in the library before they're put onto a library shelf. The parents are advocates for their kids. We shouldn't be silencing them, but rather refocusing on the innocence of children. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Well done.